This is a complete guide to the April Championship Challenge with all the best teams as well as general tips for every single map. The first map, which is Gem Grab, is going to be Stone Fort. And for this map, what you really want to focus on is taking control of the center, because if you can hold that control for as long as possible, then you're just going to have the gems and get a free win rather than trying to take it from your opponent at the last second. And this map is interesting because there's an entrance to that center part in the front and also on the sides. So you want to make sure you as a team split up into those 3 different sections at the start, so that way brawlers like Jesse or Penny won't be able to kill you all at the same time because you're all grouped up together and going through that front entrance. And not even just at the start of the game, but throughout the game as well, it's very important to sometimes push from the side, because if you push from multiple sides, it pressures your opponent into a much smaller area, so it allows you to take them out a lot easier when you do that. And another thing to note is that with these long stretches of grass on the side, make sure you know what your opponent's brawlers are at the start of the match when it shows them, and if they're running a bull or something and it's in the same lane as you, try not to stay in that grass right at the start and try to snipe down the bull before he can find you in the grass and immediately take you out, because obviously that's not going to be a good matchup for pretty much any brawler. And here are the best teams that I would recommend for this map. First is going to be Poco, Rosa, and Jackie, and with Poco's star power capo as well as his new gadget, you have a lot of healing options that can just help keep your team alive, which is very good when you're trying to maintain control of that center aspect. And his area of effect for his attack is very large, so it covers most of the center pretty well. And then there's Rosa's Plant Life. Rosa's just a very good gem grab brawler in general, and that Plant Life star power gets you that extra healing. And Jackie with her Hard Hat star power is just gonna once again keep her alive. This team comp is all about staying alive and just tanking a bunch of hits, that way you can maintain control of the center. And then these other team comps all run Jessie, and Jessie with her Energized star power is actually very good on this map, because if you throw your turret right in your entrance to the center, then it's gonna be pretty far away from your opponents, although it can still hit them. And if your opponents start trying to take it out, you'll be able to hit it from right behind the entrance with your attack and use that Energized star power to boost its health, and your opponents really aren't going to be able to get to you, so you'll basically just have an infinite turret. And on top of that, when you actually hit your turret with the Energized star power, it will bounce and then go hit them, so you can be attacking them with a bunch of cover as well as a turret in front of you, so it works very well on this map. You'll also see Tara in there a lot, and her super can basically completely cover that central area, so it's very good for retaking control. If your opponent is all grouped up in the center, you can use your super and quickly team wipe them and regain that control. The second map is going to be Super Stadium, which is the Brawl Ball map. And for this map, it's fairly standard, so honestly, just use like normal teamwork strategies that you normally do on Brawl Ball, but do note that there are a lot of like small sections of wall, maybe like 3 tiles long, but nothing that big, so you really don't need a wall breaker, or at least you wouldn't if Sprout didn't just come out. But he exists now, and some people might be using him, and what he can do is literally just throw his super inside your own goal, and then it'll spawn that wall and completely block it off, and so you're going to be kind of screwed if your opponent runs Sprout. So I would advise you to actually bring a wall breaker like Frank or Brock, so that way if your opponent has a Sprout, they can't block the goal off for the entire match because you'll be able to break it with your super. And these are some of the top comps for that map. You'll notice Jackie is in every single one of them, and she's just very good on defense and on offense because she deals a lot of damage in one quick burst. So if anyone's getting close to your goal, she can pretty easily take them out. And then on top of that, she's great on offense because of her gadget gives her that increased speed, and she just can tank a lot of hits. So Jackie's a very versatile brawler in Brawl Ball. Strongly recommend using her. You can also see there's Frank that is used pretty often. Like I said, it's important to run a wall breaker just in general, but also with the Sponge Star power, he can tank a lot of hits when going for the goal, and you can take over a lot of games with his super. If you can hit 2 people at the same time with his super, they're stunned, you can take them out, and then there's only 1 person left defending. Usually you can get a goal right after that. So Frank's also a very good choice, as well as Ems. She just deals a lot of damage, and her slowdown effect with her super is very good for preventing people from getting into your goal, and the healing effect from the Hype Star power also really helps just stay alive and keep the damage coming out. Max is also pretty good on this map, although she does only appear in one of these comps, and I would recommend using her Supercharged star power, because that way when you're running, you're charging up your super, and if you can just keep using your super over and over again in this, you'll be able to get that increased speed off many times. That increased speed is usually what'll get you the goal when you're running Max. And for Terra, you do want to run the Healing Shade star power for this map, since people are more grouped up together, so if you have the attacking shade thing, then it's going to get killed off really quickly, and it won't really serve any purpose. So with the healing shade, you can make sure you stay alive because it'll stay behind you rather than going in and getting itself killed in the opponent. Map 3 is Deeper Danger, and this is the bounty map. So for this map, really make sure you know your opponent's team at the start of the match. If they have any very strong melee brawlers, you definitely want to take note of that, because the center portion where most of the match is going to take place is covered entirely in grass. And so if they have brawlers like Rosa or Bull who do very, very well in grass, then you want to make sure that you stay away from them. Or if they have all pretty weak brawlers with low hit points and you bring someone like Rosa or Bull, then you know that you can play very, very aggressively, because you can win whenever you find them in the grass. So just make sure you take that into account at the start of the game. And if you do have that really bad matchup, just make sure you're staying towards the back side of the grass. And if you can, focus on actually destroying the grass with your super, so that way it evens the playing field and you can see them and they can see you. And then you have a much higher likelihood of winning once that happens. These are going to be the top teams that I would recommend for this map. There's a lot of different options you could run, but Tick, you will notice, is in all of them. Tick is just a very, very good brawler. He can stay far back, and the center grass portion for this map, there is very, very little room to walk. Like, the grass is only in 2 tile wide tunnels, so you're forced into very specific positions, and Tick is great for that, because if he knows exactly where you're going to walk, then he can just throw his mines there and you're going to run into all of them, because that's the only place you can walk, because it's so tight. So Tick works very, very well on this map, especially with the well-oiled star power that's going to let him stay alive easier. Jackie, once again, is just so good on offense and defense, so of course she's going to be good in bounty as well. Brock, with his incendiary star power, is good for leaving those small pools of fire on the ground, so that prevents your opponents from walking there unless they want to take damage. And any sort of area denial on this map like that is very, very good, like I was talking about with Tick. If they can't walk there, there's already so few places they can walk that it really makes it a lot easier to kill them. And basically that area denial and that healing is the common theme throughout all these brawlers that you're going to see here. Map 4 is Hot Potato, and this is the heist map. And in this map, you might notice that the save is actually really, really open compared to normal heist maps. So actually I would recommend playing pretty defensively on this map, because it's really easy to die when you're on offense. Because it is so open, all the long range brawlers are going to be able to directly hit you. So you want to focus your attention more on denying them percentage points and just getting that damage off on the safe when you can. And that's ultimately going to win you more games than if you were playing a bit more aggressively and they could easily kill you. And on this map, melee brawlers are going to work very, very well in the center part, obviously with all that grass, like I've talked about with other maps. Bull is going to be very, very good on this map solely for that reason. You want to make sure that you split up into all the different lanes of the map, left, right, and center, so that way no one can sneak past you, and definitely a melee brawler should be the person going down in that center lane. And then as long as you're split up into those different lanes, you can kill people individually in those lanes, and once you know that no one has snuck past you and everyone's pretty much dead, then you can go and get some chip damage off the safe, and just make sure you're not dying, because it's very easy to get up to the safe quickly in this map. So you definitely want to play a bit more conservatively until you can manage to kill the entire team. And now, for the teams for this map, like I said, Bull is very, very good with his tough guy star power. It's going to give him a shield when he's low on health, so it essentially just increases his total health. Some people like to use his other star power. They're honestly both very good, so it doesn't really matter too much which one you use. Barley with medical use is also used in all of these, and Barley's just a very, very good heist brawler, because whenever he throws, he gets that extra 400 health, which stacks up a lot over time, and he can literally just stand behind those walls that are near your opponent's safe and just keep throwing those attacks whenever he gets the chance, and because they just stay there and keep burning away at the safe, they deal a lot of damage overall. So Barley is very, very useful in this mode and in this map specifically. And you can also use his gadget fairly effectively. If people are trying to come up on your safe, you can just throw that splash of slowdown goo or whatever right in front of the safe, and then it'll be a lot harder for them to get close to the safe without dying first. And then for the other brawlers, there's a lot of variety you could do. Like you can see there's Brock with incendiary, like I talked about before. When you leave that fire on the safe, it deals a lot of damage. And the same with El Primo. He also leaves that fire on the safe with his El Fuego star power, and just is very good for also taking down brawlers in the center with all the grass. Max's run and gun star power is good for getting to the safe quickly when you want to make sure you can get as much damage as possible before all your opponents respawn and start to kill you. Rico's also pretty decent on this map with Robo Retreat. He can move around quickly and also just deal a lot of damage from a far away distance, which this map really lets you do. But yeah, Bull and Barley are both very, very good on this map, and I would definitely recommend using both of those. And then finally, we have Junk Park, which is the siege map. And you might notice in the center of the map, there's really only like a thin passage to get from one side to the other. And so throwers can really take advantage of the center portion if they're going on the left or the right side. If they throw their attacks in the center, basically anyone who's there is going to get hit because there's really nowhere else to walk. So all these small passageways do play very well into throwers like Tick and Barley, so make sure to take advantage of that. And also along those lines, just don't walk through that passage yourself if you can help it. If your opponent has a thrower and is focusing sort of on you, make sure you're not going into those very narrow positions, because you're going to get a lot of damage put on you, because the throwers are going to know exactly where you're going to go, since there's really only two options, forward or backward. And just overall in Siege, really focus on getting those bolts rather than getting those kills. It literally doesn't matter if you kill anyone as long as you can outplay them and get the bolts and get out of there, because the bolts and getting that siege bot is what's going to give you control of the entire map. And once you have control, that's when you can start getting them killed before they can get into the center, and then you just build a huge lead and get a huge bot, and then you basically just win. So really focus on staying alive in this map. It's absolutely imperative. Even if you don't kill them, it's okay as long as you yourself stay alive, and that's the only thing I can really stress for Siege. If you really focus on that, you're already just going to do so much better. And these are the teams I would recommend for this map. BB is actually pretty good on this map now that she has that movement speed boost, and if you add that on top of Home Run, you're just going to have a ton of speed, and that's going to let you get into the center first and get all those bolts, and that's just going to give you a huge advantage at the start of the game that your opponent's not going to be able to match. So BB is definitely a strong choice in this. Rosa with Thorny Gloves is also very good. If you go into the safe, you can tank a lot of hits once you use your super, because you take like no damage, and then once you're using your super, you get that boosted damage from the star power. So if you're on the safe at that point, maybe even like tanking for the siege bot, you're going to output a ton of damage. So Rosa is very good for that, and she's pretty good at maintaining that center control as well. Like I said, Barley and Tick are both going to be very good on this map because there are such narrow passageways. I still recommend using the medical use star power for Barley and the well-oiled star power for Tick. But honestly, those could definitely change depending on your preferences, what you're familiar with. And then Penny is also one that appears a couple times in here, and the Balls of Fire star power is so good for just preventing your opponents from walking into certain areas, and area denial is just so good in Siege because that's like the whole concept of this mode, is that you want to get into those specific areas, get the bolts, and then leave. And if your opponents can't do that, then you just have a huge advantage. So hopefully that explains most of those team comps pretty well, and that wraps it up for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and a comment down below if you did, and don't forget to subscribe so you're notified whenever I post a new guide like this every single month, as well as a ton of interesting guides in between. But that's all for today, guys, so see you later.